In this video, we are going to continue our discussion of section 7.3. These are operational properties on Laplace transformations. I wrote down the theorem here that was discussed in the last video so we could use it to go backwards. I'm going to use notation here. The book just kind of just seems to skip any kind of notation and just jumps backwards through the theorem, and that's okay. That's probably how I would go about it over some time, but I also have seen this a bit. If you end up using them a lot, I don't think it ends up being an issue, but I'm going to make up some notation that's going to hopefully just help us out. All right, so using this theorem, I see that I have this e to the negative 2s here, and that kind of matches the theorem there. So this is what I'm going to write. I'm going to say the Laplace now of, and I'm just going to do 1 over s cubed. I just took that part out. And then I know once I get to my answer, I'm going to change all the t's, and then I'm going to write this kind of in a combined way. All the t's have to change to t minus 2, and I have to put the heavy side in. So that tells me to do that once I do my Laplace. Okay, I have to manipulate this Laplace just a little bit. On the bottom, this becomes s 2 plus 1. I'm just trying to match the formula. That means I need an n factorial on top, but I can't just make things up. So I'm going to put one on the bottom to cancel it out. I'm leaving this here until I get to the very bottom. So again, this is just made up notation for myself. You do not have to use it. You can completely ignore it if you'd like. Okay, so that means I'm going to have a half here that's going to come out. So I'm going to get a 1/2. And then what's going to come from this is, okay, this is a t squared. That's the inverse Laplace there. And then I still have to change this t to t minus 2 and introduce the heavy side. So I'm going to get a 1/2 t minus 2. I changed that. And then times the heavy side of t minus 2. I could create, if I wanted to, I could create a piecewise function here. I could say 0 for 0 up to 2. And then at 2 on, we're going to have 1/2 t minus 2 squared. So, but they didn't ask for that. They just asked for this. Okay, so that gets us back and forth. We're going to do one more in this video of going backwards. Right? So let's write down that formula again. The Laplace of a function of t minus a times the heavy side of t minus a is going to be equal to e to the negative as times the Laplace of f of t. Okay, I can see what's happening there, but let's write it down. -1 of e to the negative s of s squared plus 1. Okay, so we wrote it down. I can see that it matches. That's what I was saying. I can see what's going on. You can see that this thing is right there. So I'm going to rewrite this as the inverse Laplace of 1 over, and I just keep the s's and I take the e to the negative s out. And then I'm going to put a reminder here that I know at the very end I need to change my t's, and I put a heavy side because I'm going to need that. And then I need a t minus 1. All right, cool. Let's make sure it matches. Yep. I thought I made a mistake on the last video, and I did not. Okay, so now we have that t minus 1 at the very end. We'll have to replace that. So I see it here in the middle. I'm going to take the inverse Laplace of that. I'm going to need that to be broken down. So we're going to get 1 over s times s plus 1. And that's going to be a over s plus some b over s plus 1. So if I multiply everything by that denominator over there, I'm going to get 1 equals a times s plus 1 plus b times s. Right, so s equals -1 would solve for one of those, making the a go away. So I get 1 equals negative b. So I guess b equals -1. And then letting s equal 0 would get rid of the b. So I get 1 equals a. All right. So I'm going to just pick up black and blue with an equal sign. This is the inverse Laplace of 1 over s plus -1 over s plus 1. And then don't forget that we need to change our t to the heavy side function and plug it in with t minus 1. Okay. So we're going to get a 1 and then minus e to the negative t. That was that Laplace, and I'm going to put this out here. Don't drop it. Or if you can remember to plug it in, that's what the book did. They just plugged it in on that step, this step that we're actually on. So if I plug it into 1, cool, I get 1. And then e to the negative, and then it's going to be t minus 1. And then this whole thing has to be multiplied by the heavy side function, t minus 1. All right, and there is our solution.